All right, so Assalamu alaikum to all of you and welcome on board on started the objective, the main objective rather I should say, has been to really enhance your strategic business leader, one of the very recent examinations which ACC and curriculum, and therefore we actual business leader. But this invite, because of the nature of this practical topic, we invite to not only the students but a few and our esteemed ACCM members as well. So I'm very happy that today I am joined by Rauf Ali Jan, who is one of the renowned speakers, and I'm quite privileged that he has joined us and especially taken out his time from his busy schedule, and he would be sharing the wealth of insights with you all, and I'm sure you will definitely have a complete benefit from it. Before we start this session, and then I request proceed on, I would like to share a very brief profile, which was after reading, I was very thrilled. Existingly, Rauf Ali Jan is the head of transformation internal audit at Habib HBL, and then out of his overall credentials, the education he has completed his MBA from the Schulich Business School of Business from Canada, and then he is also our ACCA fellow member and also the fellow member of I. And of course, lots of rich experience he has been holding in his pocket in terms of. So I'm very much looking forward for this session, and a couple of housekeeping announcements for all of you, and really appreciate your time. You have a chat section available through this platform. Whatever question you have, please do mention that question. In the last 20 minutes of our session, we will be taking your question and I'll to be asked to Rauf, and Rauf will be happy to respond to those questions. So without any further delays, I would request Rauf to please take the floor. Over to you, Rauf. Thank you very much.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. You can hear me, Almas, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rauf Ali Jan. As Almas mentioned, I'm a member of ACC, and today I'll be talking about startups and fintechs. I receive a lot of requests, and I work closely with ACC office in Pakistan, where we talk about which topic should we present, which topic is close to the members and students, and which topic will help them immensely. So this topic is very close to my heart. I have presented it in the past. Recently, I presented similar topic in ICAP as well on one of the webinars which we conduct in Internal Audit Committee. So this topic was very close to my heart, and I wanted कि मैं थोड़ा सा लोगों में एक आगाही पैदा करें, एक थोड़ा सा लोगों का awareness create करें, and the other important part is to make sure that members understand what is the importance of this. Both from the perspective of because ACCA member base is very young. Most of the ACCAs have started after I started the career in ACCA 2009 के बाद से, or a lot of young members are there. So they should understand both from the perspective of starting a career in startup and fintech world, and also I'll be talking about if some of the members think they should actually build a startup or they should do the startup on their own. There is nothing stopping them, and we'll see a Pakistani environment and globally also. This is very important. This is flourishing market for both startups and fintechs. So let's start. What is a startup and what is fintech? I have to cover it in 4 different areas. These are the agenda items which I'll be covering today. What are the startups? What are the fintechs? Basic things. I want to give you a little bit of brief what they do, why are they important for Pakistan, and how are they flourishing. Then we'll talk about accountant's role, because we are all professional accountants. So how we should be working in startups, or how startups are, they need the accountants. We'll talk about that, and skills to focus on. And if you want to become an accountant for startups, what skills you should be focusing on. So this is the agenda for today. Let's start by talking about what is a startup. This is the very generic example or generic definition. What is a startup? The main feature to start any startup or to own the startup is a startup is a company working to solve a problem. You have to understand the problem. All the startups which you talk about, and they are very big names. You can talk about Uber. You can talk about like how did the Uber started, how did the Airbnb started, how did the Google start. They started with a very small, tiny issue. There is no competitor now, but you can imagine when Yahoo was the big search engine, you are thinking that Google doesn't use this technology and will start a technology which will be used by everyone. And 15 years, 20 years later, you see that everyone is using the Google platform. Similar thing, YouTube, when YouTube was a startup or was bought by Google, it was a small company, but they saw that this is a tremendous problem. This is solving a very big problem. So this is the main issue which you have to, when you are planning to do the startup, this is the main issue you have to talk about. The other thing which is very important is the scalability, and we'll talk about it in the bullet points. It should be solving a problem. Solution is not obvious. Success is not guaranteed. These are some of the vulnerabilities. Nobody talk about that, but success rate of startups is very, very low. Less than 5% of startups go into the 5-year cycle. Tremendous growth. The ones which passes that certain life cycle have tremendous growth, and we have seen that all across. You can see S&P 500 top 10, 15 companies, and you'll see that 80 to 90% of those companies are startups or were the tech companies. Making immediate impact doesn't have to be a tech company. This is the right thing to talk about, that the startup doesn't have to solve the problem. Like housing is a problem in Pakistan. How will you solve that problem doesn't have to be a tech company, but you have to solve a problem somehow. And there are examples like IBM, they launched a software company which helped help them in resolving the issue. It doesn't have to be a tech company to solve that issue. Let's move on. Some of the examples of the startups, and I have deliberately included one at the bottom, which is Fintech, but I just wanted to identify that Fintech can also be a startup. We have heard and we have seen Baikia. These are all local names, international names we are all aware of, but I wanted to talk about the local names. The most important thing in startup is you can replicate the model. You don't have to follow, like Baikia. I didn't use the Kareem model here. I didn't call them to ask and put the name of Uber in Pakistan. But Baikia model is the same model of Uber in Canada or US or Western countries. We are talking about Baikia. Baikia is very specific to the subcontinent or the South Asia model, where bikes are being used constantly. And you have seen that that model has worked so well for a startup or a company which have huge potential for growth. Now they are collecting things. Now they've started delivering things. And on a bike is very cheap. A lot of people have bikes. So this model is replicated from something else, and they have used it very diligently and very pragmatically. So this is very important. There was a problem. You wanted to go from A to B. Transportation is a problem, but how do you fix it? You fix it with the Uber model, but on bikes, which is very convenient for Pakistan or this region. So this was a very good startup. Second is Airlift and Airlift Express. Why I wanted to talk about Airlift and Airlift Express was, Airlift started with a 13-seater van with AC and all of these things, but very quickly, as soon as the pandemic hit, although they were growing rapidly, they had made some good seed money funding, but as soon as it happened, they had to move to the pandemic situation, where SOPs had to be followed. There were a lot of issues with government, told them not to run the buses because of the COVID expansion and all these things. They quickly moved to Airlift Express. And if you have not used Airlift Express, I would recommend order anything which you like, cooking oil, or order shampoo which you are using at home, and you will see the service, the tremendous service they have. Within 30, not 30, they call it 30 minutes, but within an hour, you will have that thing delivered at your home. And especially with the discounts, like a lot of banks are giving discounts to them. They also have a Thursday discount or something like that. So I get cheaper cost. I get same thing at a cheaper value, and then it is delivered to my home. So this is the service. Recently, they have raised $85 million, which is a big money from their perspective. Zameen.com, if you have not used it, I would request you to use it. This is again the model which is not unique to Pakistan. If you go to any other Western world, you will see that this model is there, but they are using it very diligently. There is another product which has recently been launched, like when Airlift was launched, Survival came in right after that. Zameen, after Zameen, or just before Zameen, or simultaneously, there was Grana.com as well. So there are other Elan.com is there from the property network as well. Similar thing for Dawai.pk. This is all e-commerce services. Dawai is providing the same service, but for pharma products only, which is a very good product. But they have their own challenges. When they started the products, they were giving you the products. Like if you go to a medical store in Pakistan, you can get the medicine without the prescription. Just show them or tell them, oh, I need a paracetamol. They'll give it to you. But if you are planning to buy other medicine from the Y.pk, as per regulations in Pakistan, you need to have a prescription from a doctor. And because it's an online company, because you have to follow all the rules and you cannot just go about like a small shop, grocery, Karyana shop store like things, they ask you to upload the prescription, which is a hassle if you are in a startup world. So right after that, they realize that it will be very difficult for them, because not all the medicines go with the prescription, or you don't keep the prescription, or taking the prescription, taking the picture and then giving the medicine, or if prescription is stale like 5-6 months old, it's going to be a problem. So there are some practical problems which you don't see when you are going to a medical store in your neighborhood, but you'll see in getting to the Y from the Y.pk. Last one is Finja, which is a fintech. It provides you instant loan, microfinance loan to small and medium enterprises, like agriculturals, if you want a loan before your salary comes in, or if you want a loan to fill something in your for working capital, they provide you some loans. Digital payments is also their very good part, where they are providing the digital payments. I didn't put the names of Easy Pesa and Jazz Cash. You'll see those names later on. So this is some of the valuable startups from Pakistan. These are the startups in Pakistan. The thing which I started talking about in the beginning was that you'll see a lot of these startups. It's if you see the 2015 to 2021, you'll see a lot of funding is coming up in Pakistan on startups. I'm talking about the left chart, a left bottom chart, where you see 250 million, close to 250 million dollars have come to Pakistan this year. These are some of the startups money. Definitely there are some more monies which comes in, like recently Airlift, I didn't update it in this one. Quran is also a fintech which received some money in 2021. I didn't include that in here, but these are some of the monies which we have raised. And if you look at the volume which has increased on startups funding in Pakistan, it has gone tremendous, and a lot of multinational venture capitalists are investing money in Pakistan. In the top, if you see all the the name, even if the name is not there, like next to Airlift is Cheetah. Cheetah didn't tell how much money they have received, but we know that they have received money. Swift is the same associate company of Cheetah. So Tajir is there, Sadapay is there, Finja is there, Bazaar is there. So these are a lot of companies. Creditbook, use that. It's a very good loan management tool in your app, or app in your mobile. Sehat Kahani is very good as well for healthcare. So these are some of the startups. I just wanted to quickly tell you that the market for Pakistani startups is very lucrative right now, because it is untapped up as of now. So a lot of investors, foreign investors, are investing in this. What is a startup's life cycle? First, you have to identify the solution. Then you have to develop some basic prototypes, pilots you have to run. Then you have to improve based on development, like what should we be improving, what will be delivering, and all these things. Scaling and growth, as I was telling you, this is the most important thing, because if you are asking someone to invest, or you want to grow to a different level, you need to show them the scalability. All the startups which I was talking about on this page, why would the people invest money in your startup? Is because they think that scalability is there. Take the example of any startup like Bikea, the scalability is there. Airlift, scalability is there. Facebook, scalability is there. Then maturity, as soon as you see the maturity, move to the phase two, either to new geographies, to new market, or simply sell out. You saw that Airlift saw maturity, that their model is not going to work at least for 2 years. Should we wait for 2 years, or should we start or jump onto a new market? And that's what they did. Let's move on quickly to fintech. This is the fintech cycle. Fintech has to have one component of finance and one component of technology. Startup can be anything, but fintech have to have these two components: financial services and technology part. We have seen a lot of fintechs like Easy Paisa. I gave you the example. It started 10-15 years ago in Pakistan. Very huge success. Sellout has already been there. The number of financial inclusion is very aggressive. The most important thing which we are seeing on fintech is jotted down in the second bullet, where we say the ability to unbundle services. What they do is, instead of starting a full bank, what they are doing is they are unbundling the services. Like payment services, they have unbundled, like small loan finja I was talking about, they have unbundled the whole bank, and they just said we'll focus on this thing. Remitly is a small remittances services from abroad to Pakistan. So they are, you unbundle the service and then you start providing them. If you look at the third bullet on the left side, you'll see that these are some of the benefits you get: efficient and secure services, better accessibility. This is the most important thing which people rely on: accessibility. You don't have to go to the branch, you just do it on your mobile and things like that. Financial inclusion, in Pakistani environment, a lot of people doesn't want to or cannot have the mobility. Like women in Pakistan, it's difficult for them to go to branches 5 times a day or once in a day. Similar thing happens in agricultural. Pakistan has a big land and people live in some rural areas where it's difficult to find the branch, or you'll have to travel like 2 kilometers to find a branch, which is difficult again. Some of the fintech stats which I've written the bottom, this is from US. This is not Pakistani fintech, but I just wanted to highlight that how much money they are investing in fintech. Some of the very big technology companies are also targeting the financial services. Like Apple has suggested that they will start a credit card. So like they will unbundle the whole bank and they will start the credit card. Facebook has said that they will start the money transfer service. Like if you are my friend on Facebook, I can send you money on Facebook Messenger, that okay, give him 10 rupees or give her 20 rupees or 50 rupees. So these are unbundled services, but very big startups are investing money in that. And if you look at the bottom, I don't want to read all of them, but I think this is visible to everyone. New fintechs are created every day, every year, sorry, 500 plus. Two-thirds of the financial transactions are now made online. This is very important. If you look at the Pakistani numbers as well, especially after COVID, these numbers are significantly increasing, especially on the financial inclusion part. Like all the big banks now have their own fintech model. Like apps are there, but that is different. If you go to Bank Alpha, you will see Alpha. If you go to UBL, you will see Omni. If you go to HBL, you will see HBL Connect. All the big banks have their own different products for branchless banking, where they want to target the people, the far-flung areas, the youngsters who want to work on these small fintechs. These are just the areas where we'll be talking about. If you look at the payments and lending, these are some of the areas where fintechs normally focus on. Payments I have just talked about, and if you look at the bottom, I've given few examples like PayPal is there, Easy Paisa is there, Square is there. Square is a very good service. It gets connected to your mobile and you swipe a card with the mobile and then they'll charge you. Similar things are coming where you can tap the card and attach the device with your mobile, and as a vendor, you'll start receiving the money. On the lending side, I gave you the example of Finja. Some of the credit companies which rate your credit agencies are there as well, like Credit Karma and things like that. Some of the other companies we talk about is insurance, banking. Banking, I've told you so many examples about it. There are full-time banks as well. If I give you an example, like the State Bank of Pakistan has recently allowed that Sada Pay and some of the other companies can start their own bank. They have also helped, they have recently approved digital framework, digital onboarding framework, where you don't have to visit the branch physically and your account will be open. Robo-advising and stock trading apps, it's not very mature in Pakistan. Hence, you have to look at the example of outside of Pakistan, but this is very, very good, I would say, asset management companies which are dealing with that. What they do is they tell you that based on your risk profile, these are some of the good stocks you should be investing in. On the same token, insurance has a lot of variability, especially with the wearable devices. They are using a lot of data coming out of you, and then they are giving insurance. Pakistan does not have that mature market on insurance, so you don't see that much products on insurance side. Blockchain and distributed ledger. I know this is a very hot topic, and a lot of companies are making some strides into this blockchain environment as well. Budgeting apps, this is sometimes link within your mobile app. Like a lot of multinational and few banks in Pakistan are providing you some budgeting apps. Like if you get a certain amount, X number of money in your bank account for the full month, then it is suggesting me to turn off my webcams. I think there is some connectivity issues. You can hear me, Almas, right?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Okay. I've turned off the camera because it was telling me that my network may have some connectivity issues. So if you cannot hear me, if you do not hear me, do let me know. I'll turn on the camera after a few minutes. So this is all the types of fintechs which we can work on. Quickly moving on, the fintech ecosystem. This is coming out from international market. You can see all the startups. Some of the areas where I have marked the red arrows. These are the companies which are very common, and we all know about it. That's why I've marked some signs there. Classification of fintech companies. This is based on State Bank of Pakistan's how do they see startups in Pakistan, branchless banking. Like I was giving an example of UBL Omni there, and then Easy Pay is there, Jazz Cash is there. Outsourcing, there are some companies in the outsourcing world where they provide the big data analytics part. They are not directly talking to the consumers, but they are providing some of the information to the banks, and banks are using those information to target the customers. After that, there are some intermediaries which are also providing some information, like credit scoring companies are there, consultancies are there, which are giving you some useful data to target the customers. And then digital payments, I was talking to you about Finja, SimSim is there, Innovate is there, and then digital lending. There are few B2B lending platforms. These are fintechs in Pakistan. If you can see on the left side, these are payment apps. You would not know that all these apps are already working in Pakistan in the fintech environment. Jazz Cash, Easy Pesa, SimSim, HBL Connect, UBL Omni, MyABL, BOP. On the bottom side, you see some more banks. Then payment platform apps. These are the payment platforms. You see Fori, you see a lot of these. I use one of them to pay my kids' school fee. So this is there. Payment gateways are there. Easy Pay is there, and Naya Pay, and all of them digital lenders. Phase Financial is one of them at the bottom middle. You see they are one of the fintechs who got a lot of money from their rounds as well. Moving on to financial information, you see that they are Smart Choice, Investors Lounge. This is for the Mofab and Easy Insurance. These are other non-banking institutions as well. Investment apps, you see asset management, HBL Funds is there. These are just the apps. And then others, Hisab Kitab is there, and Oran, I was just telling you, Oran got a lot of money. It's a very nice idea for Pakistan as well. Like the committee or BC, which we used to use, the household wives or mothers used to talk about it a lot to collect some money. They are using that concept, very, very local concept. Very nice. Moving on to the third topic of the day, accountant's role. Here I have just jotted down some of the examples. Let me start from the top right. Do startups have accountants? This data is from US. They are saying they don't need, half of them don't need an accountant at all. And if you think about it, 75% of them says that either they don't need accounts or accountant, or they have just one on staff, or they meet quarterly. But 14% of them are saying that they have accountants with them, or they meet more than monthly with them. Which software startups are using? You'll be surprised. We talk about some big software, but with startups mindset, they use MS Excel or QuickBooks. Very basic softwares, no SAP, no ERPs, because with startups, the main problem is the cash. They don't want to spend a lot of money on these things. They don't have a lot of transactions, so they are more than happy to use MS Excel or QuickBooks. On the left side, you talk about like what services do they need. So as an accountant, what services can we provide them out of them? If you think about it, human resources, accountants can do that. Business coaching, I don't know if they need business coaching from mentors or some startup people. IT and software, we cannot do that. Planning and strategy, planning, we do a good job in planning and forecasting. Reporting and KPIs, this is, accountants do a very good job on that, and 61% of them need this. Bookkeeping is another one that is typical accounting job, although it can be done by QuickBooks or MS Excel. Cash planning is also another part which accountants are able to do. Tax planning is, so there are a lot of things which are needed to be done by accountants, but it depends on how versatile are you. If you understand the startup starts with a very small size, so they don't have a lot of money and amount to pay the accountants or extra you call it overhead costs. So that's why they stick with the basic principle of what can we provide and how can we deal with that. Moving on, how startup choose accountants. This is also coming from US CPA website, that they go with the specific industry expertise, that if they are doing the healthcare startup, then they'll use healthcare person. If they offer advisory services, and then this is how they choose accountants. Or referral, you can see that the most important thing is the referral. Based on the referral, they choose accountants. What accounting skills do we need? And this is the last topic, and after that we'll move on to question and answer session. Accounting skill, this is one of the most important slides. So we first talked about if you want to do the startup market, Pakistani market is very good. If you want to do the fintech, what you need to do, definitely fintech has a lot of regulatory requirements which are not needed for startups. Like if you want to start an airlift, you don't need a lot of regulatory requirement, but if you want to start say Easy Pesa, you have to make sure that you are meeting the regulatory requirements. What skills, if you are working as an accountant in one of the startups, what skills you will need? Like definitely you will need the bookkeeping and financial accounting skill sets, but your EI needs to be very strong. You have to be very strong, because as an accountant, as a financial person, you will need they will need a lot of cash, and sometimes it gets very difficult to arrange a cash in startup mindsets. We see that they receive $2 million or $5 million or $10 million, which is a huge money in terms of Pakistan. But once they go through the seed funding stage, after that they utilize it, and again they go to the same stage where they don't have money, and then they start talking about how do we get money. And in between, you cannot shy away from providing the services. Your revenue has to increase. You have to, your target or market share, you have to increase. So you have to be very strong on EI. That is the most important skill if you're working for the startup. Second one is communication. Startups, because they are small companies and they don't have a big PR departments, you will need the communication skills, both about the financial progress, and if you see any hiccup coming up, regulatory requirement coming up, taxation has any impact on you. And I'm telling you, like I was telling you that on the Y.PK there was a regulatory requirement which came up, and they had to remodel the whole model. Similar thing happened on the financial progress. Financial progress, you may be going through some difficult times, or big payment is coming up. You have to be very good in communicating. Although the setup is very small, because startups doesn't have a lot of people, you will be able to communicate very easily, but still this is going to be a very big topic. Tech savviness. Most of the startups we are seeing nowadays are technology companies, or fintechs we are seeing has tech in their name. So I'm assuming that you have to love the technology part of it. I understand you'll still survive without the tech savviness, but the people you're working with, they are very tech savvy. So this skill is also important. The fourth one is business partner. The concept of, like, if you think about it, and the detail we get into on some of the ACCA papers are doing consolidations and doing the advanced taxation and advanced auditing. But if you think about it, you're working for a small organization, you'll have to become a business partner. You have all the right skills in a very detailed manner, like you understand taxation more than anyone, you understand the finance part more than anyone, but sometimes you may not understand the legal part. But you will have to jump up and you'll have to make sure that you are completing those requirements as well. Other thing is flexibility and availability. If you think about it, startups, they work not 9 to 5. They have their own, like, they work very hard because they are very enthusiastic, ambitious people. They want to scale their company as soon as possible. So you have to have very open mind in your flexibility, in your timing, work time frame. Next one is planning. A lot of things as an accountant we do is we learn, like if you look at the ACCA courses or any other courses which we teach in accounting profession, you will see that we talk about reporting. We talk about historical reporting, preparing the financial statements based on the actual events which has happened, doing the auditing on the things which has actually happened. But in startups, you will be anticipating a lot. You will be talking about what happens, how do you forecast things, how are you going to make projections. Do you think that Google or YouTube or Baikia would have made the projections? Where are they now? Their growth rate is in some cases more in 3 digits. So you have to be very good in projections, and projections, everyone on projections challenge your assumptions. So you have to be very good in those areas. So this is one of the important slides, that you have to have those skills. I'm not questioning your financial statements or financial reporting or accounting skills, but these are very important skills for startups. This is where I end the presentation, and I'd be more than happy to do the question and answer session. If anyone has any question, I'll be available to address that. If you want me to go to any slide, or if you want to ask me anything, you can let me know and I'll go from there. I'll just open the slide on the agenda so that we can talk about it from there. GL Mas.
Right. Much for the very rich information which you have researched on and then shared in a couple of meetings very articulatively. So we have a couple of questions Rauf received, and the first one is that that we'll be happy to share the slides in the form of PDF with all the participants after the session is over. Is that okay?
Yes, for sure. I'll share the PDF with you because the size is a little bit bigger, so I'll share the PDF with you and you can share it with the audience for sure.
Right, that's great. So let me start asking the questions we have, and can I please request all the participants to do put in your questions here, because this is an excellent opportunity for you to ask any of the question related to the topic, just to get the maximum benefit from Rauf's presence over here. So the first question is from Imran Ahmed. He's asking that, is decentralized finance a supporting tech, or should we consider it as a completely different topic? And then Imran is also asking if I can ask the same question in conjunction with the first one, that also, why are we inherently very scared by risks in adoption of new tech and ideas? Should we be a bit bolder?
Both of them are very good questions. Decentralized finance function should be there or should not be there. This is a very detailed topic, and it goes with the size of the company and most importantly with the objective of the company. We have seen in bigger organizations that they have centralized function based on the central part, and then they have business finance partners based on the groups which they are working on. On smaller companies, we have seen that they only have one finance function. It also depends on which industry you are in. If you practically think about it, financial control is one of the very important aspects for a company, where you see that control environment has to be very strong. All these things in startup is not very logical, as I was showing you that the type of work accountants do are on Microsoft Excel or on QuickBooks. So that question is there. Second question you asked is basically risk, and this goes on the both awareness, and it goes with the nature of the person who you are dealing with. In Pakistan, most of the people doesn't know or heard a lot about the startups. And for startups, when the environment is very good, you hear a lot. So in my previous job, I was in Canada, and we used to see a lot of startups, and banks and companies were investing in those startups. And similar things we have started seeing here, and you'll see that this startup model and some of the success stories people have seen, they'll start coming up with ideas. And like I was giving you the idea of Quran, it's such a basic idea of collecting the money and giving it to someone, which we used to do in a BC now, और कमेटी डालना जो हम कहते थे कि कमेटी डाल रहे हैं इसमें और 15 महीने के बाद 20 महीने के बाद हमें वो पैसा मिल जाएगा. This is such a neat idea, and you'll see a lot of these ideas coming up. Like Bikea was the idea which was very specific to local market. I would not say the same thing about Airlift Express, because e-commerce or transportation or logistics business have been very mature. So this part is about the awareness. Second part is about the risk. Risk comes up with the responsibilities as well. Like I'll give you an example. A lot of startups are done by the people who are in their early 20s. You know all the names. Big name Facebook was started by people in or by students. IBM was started by students. Google was started by students. So in Pakistan, when the environment, like you'll start creating incubators, like IBA has an incubator where they can try a few things. They don't need a separate office. They don't need to pay rent. They don't need a telephone operator. All these things, services will be provided by incubator. All you need is your time, 6 months or a year, and you can try. And if you fail, you'll still get a job. Like after ACCA, I remember when I did my Canadian CA in my orientation, they invited a person who was a startup person, and they wanted to promote us. And they wanted to basically, they were promoting us that why shouldn't we as a CAs spend a year out of our life, because we, when you do CA, you have to do 3 years of training and all these things. So they wanted us to leave those stories behind, that you are already in a corporate environment, corporate culture, but we should start talking about investing in our time in startups and fintechs wherever we want. So our main keynote speaker on the convocation day was not a CEO of a big bank or a chairman of a big company, but he was a person who qualified 5 years before us, and he did the startup, and he came up and gave a very good speech, very attractive speech, that we should do, all of us. Like there were 1,200 people in that room, 1,200 CPAs who qualified in that day, and he was talking to them that we should all start the startup. So this is the risk part. I hope I answered your question.
Rauf, and I think that's the very well-rounded and I think that's to do with the mindset overall as well. To do anything based on the problems you have seen in the society overall, by and large, and then what opportunities one can draw out. Because I vouch that the Quran startup, when I read it, because the way our grandparents, especially grandnanny, are keeping with the name of VC money, and that is coming up the financial inclusion. So that's tremendous. So thank you for including that startup as one of the areas. So we have Sayyida Mahnoor Asif, who's asking us, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. Sayyida, would you recommend doing certification in digital innovation and finance being offered by ACCA? So Rauf, this is a very particular certification Sayyida is mentioning, but I do see a value in doing that. What's your take on that, Rauf?
देखिए सर्टिफिकेशन जो है ना, I did my first qualification in 2007 and I did my then I did another qualification in 2009, then I did another qualification in 2014, then I did my MBA in 2018. So there is no stopping from learning. If you ask me, like a lot of people doesn't once they do ACCA they are done. They don't have need another qualification. But if you ask me, I am still looking for another qualification. I enrolled into that, but because of COVID, it is not going on. So 2018, I got the qualification, but I was thinking that I'll get another qualification after that, not qualification, but a diploma. So there is no one is stopping you. Whether this specific qualification is relevant for you or not, it depends on your own profile. I cannot tell you if you are just working in a small and medium enterprises and you don't do anything related to digital innovation, or you don't do anything, or you are not seeing yourself in that environment, then getting that qualification may not help you. I'll just give you an example. Instead of getting that qualification, if you are working in another department which is not doing it, you should get into the job where this is already happening, and that will help you. Uh, that will help you in getting the experience, and then you can always get the qualification. And this qualification may not be relevant for you at that time. You may get better qualification, different qualification. So my thinking is it is very specific thing whether you should get the qualification or you should not get the qualification. ACCA generally offers very good up to or future looking qualifications, like digital innovation and inclusion is seems like a very good qualification, but it mainly depends on your own profile whether you should do it or not. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, I think it does certainly answer, and I think Saida, it's to do with professional development and continuous learning, isn't it? Because I would like to just add, as far as the World Economic Forum has mentioned in the recent past, that one of the very skill set the employers want to see in the form of the very much intentional learning, how much mindset you expand your horizon in terms of what you need, not only in the current capacity, but what you can enhance yourself as a new version of yourself. So I think this is a good question, and it does often raise many debate that when I complete this qualification, should I be needing something else? And Rauf Jan is one of the extreme we have, that he has not stopped his learning. You can see that from his LinkedIn account as well. At least that is for me an inspiration. So Rauf, we have the question from Muhammad Mustaqim Siddiqui, who is asking, what is the difference between fintech and blockchain?
ब्लॉकचेन जो है ना वो एक बिल्कुल ही डिफरेंट किस्म की कंपनीज हैं. ब्लॉकचेन कैन बी a startup. Blockchain, some blockchains are fintechs, like when I was showing you, there were names like Ripple, which are being used in the financial company. Blockchain, if you understand the blockchain, they provide different layers of information combined at one level and how you want to use it. So a lot of countries, regulators are worried about that how the blockchain will be affecting them. Some of the banks have started actually using blockchain, some such as for transferring the money, especially overseas. Like if I want to send money from Canada to Pakistan, you will go to a bank in Canada, which will go to a bank in US, which will go to a bank in Germany, which will go to a bank in Pakistan, and that bank in Pakistan will go to your bank in Pakistan where you want to deposit that money. So there are 5 different banks involved. There are 2 people involved, like you are sending the money and I am receiving the money in Pakistan. So there are 7, 8 people involved, and blockchain can help resolve that issue. And that is the main target area of Ripple or some of the blockchain companies which are working on those. So not all the fintechs are blockchain, but blockchain is impacting some of the fintech work which is happening around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Rauf. We have Adil Khan, who is asking, how can I make myself good at? Can you please state some practical examples?
I heard your half of the question, Almas. How can you make good at which area you mentioned?
How can I make myself good at projections? Can you please state some practical examples?
Yeah, projections or financial forecasting is a very important area nowadays, especially when we are talking about uncertainties, vulnerabilities. Like anyone who projected or made the budget for 2020 must have gone wrong, because 2020 nobody was expecting that pandemic would be here. When we at HBL were making projections for 2020, we were just thinking that it is going to be another normal year. So we take our own assumptions on everything which we do based on the regulatory spikes or regulatory things you are looking at. If I give you specific examples on projections, you have to understand where are you going to be based on the inputs which you have right now. The more time you'll spend in projection, the more difficult it will become. Projecting 2022 right now is easier for me than projecting 2025. But all the big companies use a lot of projected models. Like Deloitte, I remember in 2010, they were talking about in 2020 our revenues will be $50 billion, and at that time the revenues were like 25 or $26 billion. So you are planning to double it, and especially in economic recession time frame, and they doubled it. And their revenue actually went to $50 billion in 10, 11 years. So for projections specifically, you need to make sure your assumptions are right. If you're talking about assumptions for Deloitte, the assumptions would have been how much revenue I can get from assurance. You cannot double your revenue in assurance, because the companies in the world are not going to double themselves from 25 billion to $50 billion. Because if the company size grow, your revenue does not grow in the same proportion. So you have to check those, or you have to make sure assumptions are right. So their target was that they will expand the advisory fieldwork, and then advisory fieldwork, what are you going to increase in advisory fieldwork, and then you break it down, and then you make the assumptions based on the factual information which you have available. So this is how you make the assumptions, and this is how somebody will come and evaluate it whether it is right or not.
Thank you, Rauf. And we have some appreciation from Mohammed Faisal Kadir, who is who is sharing with us his thanks for arranging the knowledgeable webinar. We have Hamad Rehan, who is asking what's the procedure of registering a fintech with State Bank of Pakistan? Can it be done online?
It depends on what kind of fintech you are starting. First, you have to understand, as I was telling you, that you cannot register a bank online. You'll be just unbundling the service of the whole bank, and then you will go that, okay, this is what my target is, and this is what I'll be providing service to. You cannot collect deposit in Pakistan until you are registered with State Bank of Pakistan. You want to open a Daraz wallet, or you want to open a Easy Pesa wallet, you cannot do it until you are registered with the state bank. So you may have to register as a microfinance bank, you may have to register as a full size bank, or you have to register as one of the insurance companies, but you will have to get registered. It cannot happen online, and it is a little bit rigorous process to get it done, because there are some other requirements that you'll have to invest that much of money to do the startup. But there are a few things which you can do where a lot of these bill payment services are there, like the school fee, which I was telling you. You can go and tell them that, okay, instead of, if you have 1,000 kids at your school, and everyone has to go to the school, to the bank to deposit the money, or to the school to deposit the money, I can do the startup where I will be an intermediary between the bank and the school. Everybody will go in that app, like HBL's app or UBL's app, and I will be there in HBL's app. They will just put the student ID in my payment bill payer, and then that money will be received from HBL by me, and I'll deposit to the school. So these type of services you can do very easily. You need to have a relationship with the school who can trust you and give you the option. On the other token, once you have sufficient schools under your belt, you'll go to the bankers and tell them that, okay, I'll deposit 1,000 students fee in your bank. Why don't you put me in your app, and then they'll do it. A lot of services like this are happening already. Like Quick Pay is there, Pay Pro is there, Fori is there. These are all the services which are there. And this is a big market. You can go to Pakistan Post today, or you can go to Pakistan Railway today, and you can start the service using any of the bank's services, and you'll just be a middleman. Will charge 50 to 60 rupees per customer, and then you'll earn your own revenue. So this is one of the things, similar things you can start, but if you are collecting the deposit, you'll need state bank support for sure.
Thank you, Rauf. We have almost 8 minutes left, and please do share your questions with us if you really want to, and we need the maximum time out. One with us. We have Syed Faisal Abbas, who is asking a very interesting question, and I think it's looking towards the future. He's asking that what can be the future challenges for startup tech of COVID-19? An excellent question. Thank you for asking this. Over to you, Rauf.
Almas, can you repeat the question once again? Your voice broke up in between when you said what are the challenges during COVID time? What please repeat.
Yeah, sure. What can be the future challenges for startups and fintech under the perspective of?
जी बिल्कुल देखें मेरा ख्याल ये है कि challenges every startup face challenges. If you ask me, COVID has made our life easier. I was listening to the Raz Pakistan's country manager. He said that when COVID started, the number of downloads or number of orders they received on day one was more than their flagship day, which is 11/11. Because 11/11 they do all the marketings and everything, but they cannot pull customers on their app. But COVID helped them get the most number of orders on one given day. Although they didn't have a lot of at that time on that specific day, a lot of sale going on or discounts going on. So COVID has reduced some of the challenges. People have started using apps. People have started spending more time on the gadgets, on laptops, on apps. So this has helped startups and fintechs. You would remember that more people used to go to physical branches or stores, but now they are using more apps, and there are significant data available on State Bank and other players' website. What issues, what challenges comes up with COVID? Like I was telling you, Airlift faced challenge because of SOPs. Like there were some restrictions that you cannot run the bus service in Karachi or in Lahore where they were operating because of the COVID issues. So this was the challenge which was faced by specifically that startup. Similar issues can arise because of the regulatory requirements which are there because of the SOPs. Some of the issues which are there are basically like offices are closed where you have to get the approvals, or where you want to meet people and you cannot meet people because of the lockdown. Like 8 o'clock lockdown was there, so you cannot meet people. So there are some challenges based on the SOPs mainly, but trust me, COVID has helped more startups and fintechs than anything. It has lowered the number of challenges because the biggest challenge is to get the clients, and clients have started using apps and startups and fintechs because of the COVID. Ji.
Thank you, Rauf. We have another question from Mohammed. He's asking, how do you see the new Facebook pages providing Amazon services like extreme commerce and enablers?
जी देखें फेसबुक पेजेस ले लें, मैं फेसबुक ने अपना मार्केट वॉच भी शुरू किया हुआ है, या आप कोई भी सर्विस ले लें. हम स्टार्टअप की बात करते हैं. स्टार्टअप में एक 2-3 लोग 10-12 लोग मिलके सोचते हैं, and then they started providing the service. Think about Facebook. जो भी चीज़ आप कर रहे हैं, फेसबुक के पास रिसोर्सेज भी हैं, फेसबुक के पास टेक्नोलॉजी भी है, फेसबुक के पास हर चीज़ है. फेसबुक, आई एम जस्ट यूजिंग द नेम, एप्पल ले लें, आप गूगल ले लें, व्हाटएवर यू आर स्टार्टिंग, दे आर ऑलरेडी देयर. और वो लोग आपसे बेहतर कर सकते हैं, उनके पास सही रिसोर्सेज हैं. तो दे आर फुल टाइम थिंकिंग ऑन व्हाट शुड वी डू नेक्स्ट. They have the different skill set, they have different people, always thinking about integration, always thinking about innovation, technological advancement, and all these things. तो एक्सट्रीम कॉमर्स ले लें आप, ई कॉमर्स ले लें आप, जितनी भी सर्विसेज हैं दे आर गोइंग टू फ्लरिश। हम पाकिस्तान में बैठे हुए हैं, अभी हमने ई कॉमर्स या इस तरह की चीज़ों को इतना ज़्यादा फ्रिक्वेंटली यूज़ नहीं किया। यू नो द अमेजोन प्राइम मॉडल इन यूएस कैनेडा, where a lot of people order like their vegetables, their groceries through this service, because they have very 30 minutes an hour long service, and it is delivered to the house without any charges. So because those markets are mature, you see more of these services there, and as the Pakistani market will mature, you will see more and more services over there. Like I remember 2 years ago, there was, when they launched their app, they were the first one. But if you go today, you'll see the app for Carrefour Pakistan on your mobile. You'll see app for Imtiaz. You'll see app for Airlift. They are all providing you grocery delivery services. So as the market gets mature, you'll see more pages, more websites, more apps coming up this way, and they will all be working on the startup model. Ji.
Thank you, Rauf. We have two more questions left and 3 minutes to go. I know that you need to leave at 5. So let's start these two questions. Javeria Asad is asking, if you talk about the future, will professional certification in accounting or degree in fintech hold more important, as these are two different paths?
देखें, जितनी तेज़ी से ACCA और डिफरेंट अकाउंटिंग बॉडीज़ अपने आप को स्विच करती हैं, आपको नहीं याद होगा कि पहले SBL के अंदर फिनटेक का या डेटा एनालिटिक्स का कोई टॉपिक भी होता था. But these all accounting bodies are looking at how they can provide services, how they can be valuable in the market. So accounting profession has been there, like ACCA is 100 years old, ICAP is more than 50-60 years old now. They are not going anywhere. They'll adopt, they will change themselves. Whether fintech should be there, certification in fintech there 10-15 years ago, similar things started on IT. A lot of people became database administrator, a lot of people became database developers, a lot of people went into computer engineering. Similar thing will happen with fintech. If you look at the, जो भी ये बात करनी थी अलमास वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम की, if you look at the jobs, top 10 jobs which will not be there in 10 years include accountant and auditors. So if you ask me, these jobs will vanish away. Robotics or RPAs will take care of these jobs. Routine tasks will not be there, but we'll adopt, we'll change, we'll move to the new environment. ERP सीख लेंगे हम, data analytics सीख लेंगे, but our skills will be needed. Fintech qualification important है नहीं है, there is no one stopping you. जब मैंने ACCA किया था, I must have not learned about this fintech data analytics, but I'm leading a department where I have 7 data scientists reporting into me, and then there are accountants, 10-15 accountants are there as well. So nothing is stopping you from learning and doing things which goes with the ACCA and fintech. Thank you.
Rauf, we have the last question from Hamza Ali Khalid. He's asking, can I raise financial instruments for my company through collaboration with fintechs?
हाँ, देखें, तो डिपेंड करता है फिनटेक आपको वो सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर रही है या नहीं कर रही है. आप कमर्शियल पेपर रेज करें, आप उनसे डायरेक्ट लोन ले लें. देयर आर कंपनीज व्हिच आर डूइंग दैट. देखें, वंस एवरीबॉडी इज देयर टू लेंड यू द मनी, the way of asking for the money, it depends on your relationship or your ask with them. They will, if they see that you will return them the money, they will write you the way how to give you the money. So it all depends on how are you asking money. If somebody is in the lending business, they don't care whether you ask them in commercial paper or you ask them a simple loan. They just need to see the collateral. They just need to see your ability to repay the loan, and then they'll give you the money. So fintechs definitely will be more than happy if you meet their requirements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are dot on 5, completing all the questions, and you have responded all the questions with great clarity. So appreciate you all to get the time and have been able to share through this session, Rauf Ali Jan, and thank you very much for all the participants. And I'm grateful for your time, including Rauf's. To hopefully have learned lots of new insights as well and take away for your life. Things that lots of people are interested slides. So we'll be sharing the PDF, circulating via email after the session is over in few days. Of this session will also be made available on the ACCA's landing page, which is called Bridging the Gap session landing page. So you can look for that, but we'll be able to share the link with you all as well. So with this, if there is any other words of wisdom, Rauf, you want to share here, and then we'll be nicely concluding today's session.
बिल्कुल ठीक. Thank you, Almas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for everybody's time, and take care of yourself, and Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.